Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Well, another race getting set to kick off on Sunday nights. The ASRL NextGen Cup Series looking to race into the evening this afternoon for the Windy City. Welcome once again to the ASRL NextGen Cup Series for their 25th season of competition. This time, racing out at historic Chicagoland Speedway. My name is Noel Rembo alongside Scott Rankin. We are bringing you all of racing action from start to finish this afternoon. Scott, it has been a great season so far. Lots of long green flag runs. We've seen some absolutely monstrous title domination from one Brody Gunter. He did have that winning streak come to a dramatic end just last week as he got crashed out late at Atlanta, but still managed to rally back and pick off a podium. And he's looking to get another one to continue to extend on that absolutely insane points lead this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling it's going to continue to extend. He's looking strong again here tonight. Not supremely strong, but Chicagoland, big draft track. Utilize the lane, set yourself up nicely. But tire wear is going to be a factor, making sure that you can look after the car on the long run pace. I like that. One of the biggest critical, issues I sort of have with these cars, these packages, is they don't necessarily wear the tires too much. And, well, Chicagoland is going to give us, I think, something where we can at least go racing and enjoy a little bit of the old tire wear.
Brody Gunter currently standing with a 133-point lead ahead of second place run defending champion Joshua Hickey. Paul Ellison bringing it up with that number 3 spot. He himself is already looking to be about 32 points out as well. Corey Rutherford is sitting in the pretty distant 4th. Joshua Rutherford back in 5th. The top 4, all of them really in a bit of no man's land from one another. And then it's really when you get back to the likes of 5th place Joshua Rutherford that you really start to see more of the battle starting to pick up. I mean, only 2 points separated that fight for the final spot inside the top 5. But as we get closer and closer to playoff season, we're going to look less and less towards the top run. There's only 3 races left for the regular series season, so it's all in the battle for the top 10, and that one separated by only 4 right now.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I mean, Schlosser was in here. I was keeping an eye on him. Not necessarily super comfortable around here, I get the feeling. He was drifting up, made a little bit of contact with Brody Gunter in practice, but that's the reason, you get out there, you get circulating in practice. Hamby's been an interesting prospect as well. A couple good races, couple really, really average races. So his potential to get inside that top 10, I'm not 100% sure confident on. Has he got the potential? Yes, but I think he's going to be relying on a little bit of bad luck.
So still a lot of racing action left to go in this one, and of course qualifying is currently underway, and every single week we seem to be getting new drivers into this league. Right now Paul Ellison just went 9th quick for his first lap, but you're looking at another rookie driver, Mark Krinke, making his way into the fray, and he's just slapped the wall for a secondary lap, so it looks like he'll be qualifying 13th out of 15 this afternoon. You saw Travis Fleming, he is also on the grid for this race. He made his first start at Atlanta Motor Speedway just a week ago. So new drivers continuing to drop in every single week, slowly but surely bumping up our field size. No doubt a positive to see, especially if these are drivers that intend on returning for next week. Ellison goes forth quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just keen to see that field size increase. And, there's a lot of opportunity with new drivers in the water as well. The driver of some reputation sits around a 3,000 I rating. So, he's got potential, he's got speed. I'm really keen to see if he can jump in here, slot in, and shake things up as well. Could you imagine if he jumps in and all of a sudden Brody Gunter starts to get a little bit pushed for things? It changes things, right? That's the big key. We just don't want these guys to come in, settle down, and get comfortable. We want them to come in and push hard and see what they can show us.
Well, there's no better way to push hard and show the field what you can do than over a 160-lap run, and that is coming on up for you in just a few moments as qualifying draws to a close, and 250 miles, give or take, get set to take off. You see the sun sets, the stadium lights flick on. Not often do we get a pure night race around this racetrack, but it's never a complaint whenever it comes on. Now, let's take a rundown of that starting grid for the race number 11 this afternoon. Nate Moore is on the pole out of the Carolina States with Brody Gunter for 510 racing down in 2nd. Work in progress is Joshua Rutherford is 3rd. Paul Ellison in 4th. Tommy Cook for Royal Greenhorn Racing down in 5th. In his turn 200 car, Case Campbell is 6th. Rounded out the top half of the field on row number 4, it's Stephen Carmen out of Indiana and Jarrell Williams from Black Ice in 8th.
Yeah, Corey Rutherford a little bit further back out of 9th. Jan Van Leer alongside of him in 10th. Dylan Grootsmarker, he was so quick back at Bristol as well. Good opportunity for him to bank some more points. He'll be moving it off of 11th on the field. Hickey deep in the field as well. That one's a little bit of a question mark that's been raised. Krinke, unfortunately, a long way off the pace in terms of qualifying. An opportunity for him to move himself forward in the race. Andy Palicki, and rounding out the back end of the field, Travis Fleming and Alex Halland, both no time.
So with all that said and done, qualifying about to kick off once again here this afternoon, and you know for a fact that this is going to be a wild one this afternoon. Chicagoland Speedway, well renowned for its multi-groove racing, and I always get excited when I see a NASCAR race here. It really is a hidden gem, and it's such a shame that it closed down after the 2017 season. This is one of the greatest mile-and-a-half tracks you can find out there for that multi-groove nature. You know you're always in for a good show when you swing out here to Joliet, Illinois.
It's just the biggest disappointment is it's a wide racetrack. Everyone loves the favorite statistic about this place is the fact that there is no straight sectional racetrack on it. You know, there's a constant radius the whole way around the track. Changes up a little bit, obviously, at the turns and whatnot, but front straight, you can see it. All that pavement down the bottom, that's going to be in use tonight. That's going to be in play. And then down the back stretch isn't a straight. There is a kink in it the whole way down the back straightaway, which is really, really cool. But the track is so wide. The track is wide. It has a lot of different elements to it. Down here on 1 and 2, you look at this and you go, this looks like a really well-banked corner. Have a look at that bottom seam. There's a little bit more grip down underneath that bottom seam. You can really hug and wrap the bottom, particularly down in 3 and 4. But it's as you transition back up and out of the banking right there, there's actually a change in the banking. It's really, really low grip, and it's difficult for the drivers as well. You've got to manage your rear tire temperatures. If you slide across that banking change too much, you will wear the rear tires out. The car get loose. Great for racing.
Tonight's race, of course, being sponsored, so many of them are by the drivers, and this one in particular being sponsored by, well, one of the series admins themselves, Corey Rutherford. Coming on in, he will start his race with the number 10 position, well, not the number 10 position, the number 9 position deeper down the field. So he is looking like he's going to have himself with a pretty good run. This could be a track where that fuel saving strategy that he loves to play out could be big this afternoon. We'll see if that's going to be the case. For now, green flag drops. It's go, go, go from Illinois.
Here we go. And who's going to be the driver that makes the early gains? Already 3 wide in the middle of the pack. And have a look at it. It was Jan van Leer. He's going to end up slotting into that bottom lane. I think you're right. I think Corey Rutherford's already gone for that fuel save strategy. He had a lift on the run into turn 1 and checked up Van Leer.
Fanning out down that curved backstretch, a signature staple of this racetrack from day one. Nate Morris lunging in around the top side of the racetrack. And it will be Morris to lead the first lap to green at the stripe as the field crosses over the start-finish line. 1 down and 159 still to go. We're only just getting started.
Yeah, you don't want to lead sort of. The big thing is, right, clean air is king. Somebody was talking to me about that last night once we were doing some own racing, but this sort of a track, you actually kind of don't want to lead. You put yourself in a fuel hole. You know, if you can sit second, save a little bit of fuel, doesn't have to be a lot. Look at Rutherford drifting off the bottom of the racetrack as well. So he's actually driving it a lot harder than we've seen him drive it this season.
He really has, but he just sent that thing down to the turn number 3, showing no fear early on. Jan van Leer cutting to the inside. Casey Campbell looking to duck up the middle. Oh, contact just a little bit there as they go 3 wide down the back straightaway. Already a lot more aggression than we usually see in these types of racetracks if you discount Atlanta from last year. And up into the outside wall is rookie runner Travis Fleming.
Well, there's a couple little bits and pieces about this racetrack as well that sort of jut out. The safer barrier where it kicks in on the run down into turn 3, it juts out quite a bit. It catches a lot of people off guard. And once you're in there, it's very, very difficult to get the car out. A lot of friction in that wall just sucks the car back in. The other thing is transitioning up and out of 1 and 2. We talked about the banking adjustment and the grip adjustment, but the safer barrier does the same thing as you transition out of 2. You can get caught in the barriers down there as well. You can get caught. There's a little bit of a hump on the entry to 1. There's a big old bump on the entry to 3 and 4. Those are some of the key features about this track.
Working lap number 5. Down to the inside, Gerald Williams trying to pick off Steve Carman, another newcomer that entered this league just a couple of weeks ago and is already making some splashes with some strong performances, including one last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway for a good while of that race. Jan van Leer working inside. Corey Rutherford going to try to go with him. Right now, top 4 breaking away. They've got about a half-second gap over 5th on down.
Yeah, so the big key about the race and the way that you want to set this one up is you want to be within that lead group. That's the biggest thing. You definitely do not want to drop the draft to that lead group. But at the same time, you don't want to push too hard. What we've learned about ASRL over the last, 10 weeks or so is the fact that long green flag runs are going to be the norm. What does that tell me as a driver? Well, it means that I don't have to drive as anywhere near as aggressive. It means I can back my corners down. I can really focus on saving the tire. One of my biggest specialties and one of my strengths as a driver is I love to tire save. I love to give myself the opportunity to go long. I love to do a little bit of fuel saving, not the same amount as Corey Rutherford, of course. He's the master at it. But, give myself options in terms of strategy. You go out here, you go out hard, you're going to burn that rubber up, you're going to drift back throughout the pack. So just being conservative, and again, like I said, I don't want to lead. I want somebody else to pull me around the racetrack, and the reason I want to do that is I want to save everything I've got. If somebody else is doing the leading, I can lift earlier in the corners, I can save gas, I can save tire, I can underdrive the car a whole bunch, and I'll still maintain the lap time.
Brody Gunter that last time by just put down the fastest lap of the race, a 29.80. So establishing himself early on, that is 700ths quicker than Nate Morris's fastest lap, up there with the race lead by about 0.4 of a second. So Brody Gunter looking like he's about ready to start hounding Morris for the lead of this race.
I don't know if he's going to hound him just about yet. I think he is still underdriving the car quite a lot. The big thing right now is that dirty air is quite massive. The big thing I'm seeing from Nate Morris is he's not keeping the car glued to the bottom of the racetrack coming off for 2. He's allowing the car to drift up quite early. Says to me he's driving it quite hard, quite deep into the corners. I just keep getting the feeling that Gunter is just looking at him and just letting him go. He's playing with his food here.
A lot of battles still out on the racetrack, including deeper in the field. You're on board right now with Joshua Higgy. He fights it out with Corey Rutherford. Rutherford right now working on his outside, but it's looking like Higgy just got clear for that 8th place spot. He is right now still in a big scrap with Paul Ellison, Jared Williams, Jan Van Leer up the road. And head of that pack, there you can see your race leader, Nate Morris, taking off down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. Look at how Higgy is already adjusting to that second groove, trying to get a better drive of speed off of turn 4 down the front stretch of the trioval.
I think the big thing he's looking for is, and I talk to drivers about this whenever they come and ask for advice at the moment. Big coaching session with guys yesterday in the truck at Texas, and one of the things I said, look for the open lane of air. The reason for that, front downforce. You cannot underestimate the difference that just being a half a car with showing your half a nose outside of somebody gives to the front end of these race cars. And you can see Higgy's going to do it again. Gets just that half a lane higher, fresh air, can wrap the speed, keep the speed up. Also helps to keep the tire temperatures down because you've got consistent grip, consistent downforce in the front end of the car as well. So it's really good for working on looking after the tires as well.
Joshua Higgy and Corey Rutherford both sitting just a little ways behind this dogfight. As Corey Rutherford looking like he wants to open up a door down to the inside now. So the work in progress, number 5, Chevy Camaro for CJR Graphics. Making a strong run on the inside of the trioval, trying to take away that spot using all of the apron that he possibly can. No rule to prevent you from going down under that line. And that's even the case in the real world. I feel like a lot of people try to treat that the same way, right? You can go down there. It's your own risk, though, coming back up.
Yeah, and drivers tend to, at this place, they'll give each other a lot more room than they normally would. It's generally just considered part of the racing surface right here. There's no complaints about using it. You can already see the drivers as well. Big thing, a lot of them moving around. So the big thing about the dogleg on the front surface, a lot shorter down there. You think about it, there's actually there's a seam in the middle of it, so there is 2 clearly defined racing grooves effectively down there. So that means you can get a long way down. You can cut so much of that front straight off. That's so much shorter potentially to get you a pass. But you're right. The other thing is banking transition. Can't sit a tire either side of that seam. You've got to be completely and utterly on the apron. And you can see the car up ahead. I think it was driver just ahead of Paul Ellison's just down there, which is Van Leer. Completely down there. Shot down there hard, shot back up onto the racetrack car. You don't want to spend too much on that transition where you got one set of tires on the banking, one set of tires off the banking.
I do love that transition because it also carries the multi-groove nature of this racetrack down even onto the straights as well. Because while, yes, you can go down there and cut out a big bunch of track, you're on a flat surface, so you're scrubbing off a lot of that speed, making that turn. You're taking a shorter line, but sacrificing any speed that you would keep up in the middle of the trioval. And that, in turn, actually can do a number on your tires after a little while as well. That's why we don't see everybody going down onto that apron whenever they have the chance. We got to battle for the lead.
We do have a battle for the lead, and the other thing I'm just keeping an eye on and monitoring is Higgy's lap times. Just took 0.3 of a second out of our race leaders as well, so he's starting to lift the pace as well. So everyone's just starting to go, okay, enough tire saving, time to start showing that pace, and you can see that from Gonza. He was absolutely playing with his food earlier.
Making that lunge down into turn numbers 1 and 2. Brody Gunter through to the point. Nate Morris trying to see if he can't battle back around the high side. All of that is allowed for Tommy Cook to reel in, and Cook getting way sideways coming out of turn number 3 that last time by.
Yeah, you got to manage those rear tire temperatures. Remember what we're talking about, the transition out of 2. It's big, particularly about now. You've had enough time on the tires for them to wear slightly, for the peak pace to drop off. And last time by, we lost about 0.7 of a second over our peak lap times. So everyone's, you know, starting to move around. Like I said, Higi's found some pace. Ellison's doing the same thing as well. He's starting to trend back towards Jan van Leer. And that whole group is actually coming back towards the leaders. So I think it's Joshua Rutherford's just starting to fall back just a little bit. So he's a touch vulnerable. Higi just got loose off the 2 as well.
You see the battle here coming down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. That is between Paul Ellison and Joshua Higi. All of them trying to still make some moves. A 388 of Dylan Grutzmacher, another driver that has come in late into this championship, still very much in that mix as well. And trying to see if he can't set up a move here down to the turn numbers 1 and 2. Joshua Higi to the inside of Ellison. Ellison, though, still pulling clear from the high shelf coming off of turn number 2 down the Brandt backstretch.
Yeah, this will be a really, really interesting one. All the momentum shifted to that high. I think the quicker way around the racetrack, still at the bottom end of the racetrack, but yeah, you got to be careful. Big bump down over there on the transition into the corner in 3. It catches so many people off guard.
You see Grutzmacher there trying to set something up on the Larson line, and then just drifted a bit too high and got into the wall. It's an easy mistake to make, but if he could have made that work, that could have been a great move for Grutzmacher.
Yeah, potentially. How's this from Cranky, though, as well? He's, you know, on debut, making some time. This is really, really difficult because he is definitely faster than Ellison, and Ellison's just not relinquishing this one. It's really interesting. So both of these guys are wearing tire, racing each other. It's in both of their best interests to actually complete the pass. If Ellison wants to go back and keep tire saving, absolutely can do that. Just drop in behind. Whoa!
Oh, boy! And now that's going to spin Cranky around 2 onto the back straightaway. Caution flag comes out for the first time tonight. Grutzmacher goes around as well. All things considered, that could have been a lot worse. They did a great job to keep that out of the fence.
Oh, hell, yeah, I mean, amazing job from all of them. And again, just what I was talking about, right? Why is Ellison fighting that one? And in terms of his track position right now, he loses 1 spot. It's not the worst. Have a look at how he transitions down here. As he sets those right sides on the seam, yeah, he's got his right side tires, and they're just stuck on that seam.
Oh, boy.
So, there's just less grip on that seam. Eventually they overheat. Eventually you lose the traction and grip, but you can see it. And that seam's the minor seam in the corner too, but it is still a seam. It is still a low grip area.
It's all self-inflicted, I'm afraid. Cranky didn't do anything wrong there, and then Grutzmacher just had nowhere to take that run when they got hooked together there. It's right aboard with Grutzmacher.
And the big thing about these cars is that they go really, really quickly. And that's a reasonable shot. I think everyone's going to be okay here. Grutzmacher, I think, will be fine. Maybe a little bit of damage to the front right corner of the splitter. Should be able to get that repaired, stay in the race, stay up to speed. Particularly, he's off the back of the pack. So when you haven't got track position like this, you just sit back there. No worries. Take it. Take the damage. Reset yourself. Refocus. I think you're going to get away without camber and toe damage on that car, and that's the big key.
First round of pit stops for everyone. Quite literally the entire field coming down to pit road. The big question, where does the strategy fall? Fuel only for Gunter, for Cook, Morris, Rutherford, Van Leer, Ellison, Corey Rutherford. 2 tires, I think, for Howland. Then fuel only again for Fleming, Williams. Carmen took 2. Casey Campbell taking 4, along with Krenke, and then Grutzmacher and Poliski are both in for extended stops. I think Poliski was getting some damages repaired on his car.
Probably. Look, I think right now the best strategy is actually the fuel only, and the reason for that, they only have 3 spare sets to shift onto right now. We've knocked out 22 laps at the moment. At the end of this one, we'll knocked out 23 laps, and it's just too early, right? The big key is that they need to go a lot further into this race on these tires, which is again why we're sort of sitting there and going, well, Paul Ellison, what's he doing? He doesn't need to be fighting this one. There's literally no point. He needs to slot in and he'll pick everyone up, drive them back to the lead. So using a little bit of race brain, a little bit of racecraft.
I haven't talked about Poliski too much today. He is actually a driver that ran very regularly all throughout Season 1, if you remember, but we haven't seen him really out on the racetrack much here in Season 2. I think he's been busy with commitments elsewhere. So it's good to see the number 32 Mustang back out on the racetrack to party.
Tommy Cook apparently took left side tires only, not rights, lefts.
Well, that explains how he managed to get out with a tire stop in under 9 seconds, but that's a choice. I don't think it's the choice I would have made, but it's a choice.
Accidental. He definitely said accidental. I will say about the next gen car, it does wear left side tires a lot more than most of the other cars. So it's reasonable, but he is going to have an interestingly behaving car right now. But yeah, I'd expect the bulk of the strategy to be in that no tire stop right there. Can I just say I love this racetrack? I really love this racetrack.
I think a lot of NASCAR fans agree with you, It's
hey
popular
man,
sentiment.
I got my sim back together last weekend. I went out in the truck. This was my first race in the truck after getting the sim back together and got a dub. So I love this place.
The truck races here are absolutely insane, but Green Flag
insane.
Green Flag back out in the air. Look at the jump from Gunter down to the turn number 1. No one was anywhere close. Oh, now Morris shoved up by Van Leer. Now 4 wide down the back straightaway. Turn hard into the wall for Van Leer. And around goes the pack. Multiple cars sliding, slamming into the infield. Carmen is involved. Joshua Rutherford is involved. Ellison is there. Poliski caught up again, and another one. Gerald Williams into the grass. I think we just had the big one on the backstretch.
I tell you what, if you want to ride on this one, Grootsmacher was at the rear end of the field. He got to see everything happen. That's a wild ride. And they're annoyed with each other.
I'm not surprised.
The drivers are very, very annoyed with each other.
That was just... I don't know what to make of that one, I'm going to be honest. That's a hard hit for Joshua Rutherford, courtesy of... Oh, and you saw Poliski just exit stage left, shot back up at the racetrack. So this is one of those wrecks that just kept on developing the further down the racetrack you go.
And everyone's squabbling about position. I mean, it's 4 wide.
Oh my goodness.
That's rough.
Ellison on top of Poliski's hood on that mess.
Yeah, I think Ellison's going to have a very bent race car here, which is a shame. He had pace tonight.
Taking a look for the spotter stand. You see it already in progress.
Oh!
Look at that. That's a wild ride for the 55 car.
Nissan's not a brand that's in NASCAR, buddy, and I'm pretty sure the brake pedal's in the middle. I'm telling you, man, you got to ride on board with Grootsmacher.
Take a look at that in a moment. Right now, from the air, as Van Leer right there. And Morris just pushed up across the nose. Van Leer tried to go up the middle, and what do you make of that one? I mean, I don't think he turned him intentionally. It's just...
No, there's no... Yeah. It's just a mismanagement of the lanes. And I mean, they're 4 wide, right? So Nate's getting a call that he needs to probably move up a touch. Sorry, not Nate. Jan Van Leer's getting a call that he needs to move up from the bottom of the racetrack just a little. And Nate's could be higher, but he's holding his line. There's enough space there. The track's wide enough. Like, it's just racing.
This is with Grootsmacher.
Check this. So he sees the first bit. And he's on the anchors. Oh!
Easy does her, buddy.
Change your underwear?
This will be with Andy Poliski, as he arrived in full song on this mess. He wasn't the only car that got loose. The 26 also broke a little bit sideways. He just tried to shoot for the middle and was caught off guard by Williams coming back up the racetrack.
He had enough. The problem I have with that one is he had sufficient time to get at the brake pedal to prevent himself from getting involved in that one, and he chose not to. So that's it. A lot of drivers will sit down mentally when you're moving through, say, from a lower class of driver through the middle and into the higher standards as you get better and better and better. One of the big things that people start to say is, "Oh, I had no choice. I was involved in that one." Well, sitting there and saying you had no choice is a bad thing, because it basically says, oh, there was nothing I could have done to improve my reaction there. And it's quite a common complaint. I hear it quite a lot. I say to people, well, you did have options, and the way that I was trained to drive cars in the real world, I'm talking about out on the road, is we set up, right? We don't straight jump onto our brake pedal, we set up, which means we lift off the gas and we move that right foot over onto covering the brake pedal. And what that allows is that if you do need to make a reaction, your foot's already on top of the brake pedal. You know, that is a choice, to lift out of the gas and move that pedal. If you need to get back to the gas, well, it's a less dangerous step to take a quick move from your foot back over to the gas pedal and stomp on it, right? It takes far longer for you to move back across the brake and get onto the brake if you need to react. So that's what we call, you know, cover, get the eyes down the track and prepare for those sorts of things.
Three flags back in the air. We'll try it again. Big stacked up on the outside line. Van Leer and Morris getting into it a little bit down to the tail end of the field as Morris being shipped all the way to the back. That wreck has taken out a good quarter of this field now, as the bottom four are now all stuck in pit road at several laps down. The remaining 12 all still on the lead lap. Here comes Krenke making the look for fourth.
Gritzmacher, by the way, has made a bunch of speed on this opening lap, so he's picked up a bunch of spots and put himself back up in a really, really nice position.
Certainly has, and you see him now trying to challenge for the fifth place spot as he tries to make that look down the inside of turn numbers 1 and 2. Looking like Alex Howland slipping up the racetrack a little bit. Here comes Gritzmacher with a charge to the inside, and he should be able to get that spot secured, you would think, but the amount of speed he can pull from the outside is not to be underestimated, as Howland immediately getting the drive back around him.
And it's difficult. Howland just had a wiggle. That should complete the pass. If I was in Gritzmacher's position, I'm shooting to the apron here to shortcut that front straight away. If I can clear him and get back up in front, it means I'm on with my day. How good's the battle between Krenke and Tommy Cook? Krenke was saving his tires mega in that first run. He was really, really passive.
I think they may have just made contact for that fourth place spot coming down to the turn numbers 1 and 2 there. Got a little aggressive down the road. You saw there was a little bit of a sudden twitch there from Howland as the 388 was right alongside him. Let's take a quick look and see if my theory was right. Well, this is, that was down in the turn numbers 3 and 4. We'll try again. This is going to be down the front stretch and into turns 1 and 2, the lap before.
No, got tight.
What have happened in the middle of 1 and 2 here on this one? Watch that 2 car on the high side.
No, he got loose.
Yeah. That's a weird one to get a little loose right there like that. Good job of catching it, though.
How about the battle for the race lead? Did Krenke strap tire? Krenke's got fresh tires on. That's why he's pushing on so hard right now.
Yeah, I was about to mention he's one of the drivers on that first caution that took 4 tires. In fact, one of only about 3 or 4 cars to do so. But that does mean he's going to be short that set down the run. So I think he's gambling. This is going to go long. He can now build up that gap and manage it from here on to the end.
Well, just the number of cars that got taken out of the race in that most recent caution is sort of presenting an opportunity for this to go long. So what this does mean is that he will be on the best rubber for the longest period of time. But the difficulty is that at the back end of the race, should we get another caution, he's just in a strategy hole. So
Gritzmacher, Cook, Howland, all under a blanket. Especially for this battle for that number 4 spot is Tommy Cook trying to look to the inside. Gritzmacher slams the door shut on the 200 Mustang's nose. Alex Howland still running behind single file for the moment, but the battle back at the very tail end of this field started to develop as Dave Morris looks to overtake 1 spot from Jarrett Williams. In other news, Joshua Rutherford has come back out onto the racetrack 8 laps down.
yeah, and Ellison's still in the lane at this point in time, and Palicki's going to the garage, so he's done for the day.
No surprises there for Poliski. Ellison and Fleming both still in the pit road after good 6.5 minutes now, and they're not looking to be coming out anytime soon, so I would not anticipate that their day is going to have much of a run either. Look at Campbell to the inside of Howland. Howland, I think, got a little bit loose in 3 and 4 again. I mean, that number 2 car is struggling right now in this one.
Yeah, he's in a hole, and again, this comes down to, so remember what we're talking about in terms of saving tires and looking towards the long run. The other reason you want to save tires is the guys that burn them up and maybe get the track position. Well, where we got that caution was 22, lap 22. Came down on at the end of 2022, starting 23. And the big thing for these guys is that that's the point where the tires have absolutely normalized and started to come back to the guys who were saving. So you ever get a caution just in that hole, all of a sudden all that margin that you've made comes back to you in a massive way. So the difficulty is you've made all this ground, you've just given it up with a caution. Whereas if you're sitting back, you're saving a lot of tire, the race comes to you. Anything happens, and all of a sudden those guys that burned up their stuff, they're in trouble.
You have to wonder how far away the pit stop window is going to be, because I know that a lot of these drivers, they probably had things kind of relatively gamed out for about 40, 80, 120 or so, making a 3-stop race. Those 2 cautions, though, have really thrown those calculations into awry, because that yellow comes out right in the middle of the fuel stand, pretty much splitting it right in half. It's going to make it a much more difficult challenge to calculate those fuel numbers for later on in the run, especially for drivers that are still looking to see how they want to use those tires, and even more so for the field here that are trying to, well, for that one particular driver trying to navigate accidentally putting on left sides.
Well, Tommy Cook is going to, I would say, we're lap 40. If they think they can get 40 laps out of the run whilst they're out on their own, I'd be saying to Tommy Cook, get to the lane right now, get that fresh, get that set of rights on. Let's reset this car, let's stabilize it. Because the worst thing you can do is just keep going backwards. The numbers that you're talking about there, quite critically, 4 sets of tires, well, that's 4 runs. So nice and even from that perspective. Krinky's obviously just going to get out here and go hard, but I don't think he's overly pushing. He didn't have a massive amount of speed on that first run, but he looked like he was just starting to come towards the front of the field at the end of the run as well. So I would say, in terms of tires, he's actually running a respectable pace. He's looking after the tires. He's giving himself a really, really big opportunity. He's going to take this run deep. Because he's strapped these fresh tires on, he has to make this run deep. What you may see him try and do is pit as soon as the fuel runs out, come back in about lap 80, because then that gives him 2 fresh tire runs to the end of the race. And it means he's on the fresh tires for the longest period of time. He has certainly got an advantage over these guys right now. It's going to take a very long time. And Ellison's car's still just destroyed. That's a shame. That's such a big shame.
He came out for a lap and I think realized his car was not at the scratch, so he brought it down to pit road. Travis Fleming just came out of pit road as well. I think testing the waters, seeing if it's viable to stay out on the racetrack and hope that other drivers come in or have problems down the road. A little bit of awkward angle on the car through 4, but otherwise, I think that's something he can manage throughout this race. He's not in the shot to win now, being 15 laps down. I mean, you would need at least 23 yellows just to get back to the lead lap alone. Consider, you got a car in front of you that's 8 laps down. But I don't think he's far enough back that this early in the race, it's not worth it to go out for a little while longer, because you know for a fact, those 12 cars, not all of them are going to finish this race. There's going to be more problems before the end.
That's the big key, and he's just about points racing right now. Really interestingly, though, watching Gunter at the moment, he's burned his stuff up. So whether or not he didn't know that Krinky was on fresh tires, and he's blocking aggressively, he does not want Gutzmacher ahead of him. I wonder whether or not he maybe went out in this second phase of the race just a touch too hard, and now he's really struggling.
Yeah, no kidding, struggling bad at the moment as he looks to get in down on the inside of Brody Gunter. Dylan Gutzmacher driving up from the inside, picks off the number 2 spot. So Gutzmacher looking like he's trying to score for a podium this afternoon. That'd be pretty big. He has gotten himself 2 race starts, but so far, both of them falling short of number 3.
I am wondering about Grootsmarker. He was on the pit lane for an extended period of time. I do wonder whether or not he may have actually taken tires alongside the repairs. That would make a lot of sense.
I don't see why he wouldn't, right? I mean, you're getting full damage repairs. Why not get some fresh Goodyears on at the same time?
Yeah, look, it's a risky strategy. So, I mean, you know, it's a big risk that he's taking by strapping tires on, but hey, look, I mean, he's committed to it. The problem is he's so far back off of Crinky now that, you know, for him to actually make full advantage of it, he needs to have been saving quite hard and hope that he can run down Crinky. I don't necessarily know that that's the case either. I'm just checking out his pit stop now. I'll give you an up. He did take 4 tires in that pit stop when he took the damage repairs.
Okay.
So, yeah, he definitely did take tires.
Casey Campbell, another driver that I believe took 4 tires as well back on lap 22 under the caution flag, and that's why he's been able to keep pace with Brody Gunter. But Gunter so far has been keeping the Speed Mafia number 73 Ford Mustang at bay. Campbell has not been able to find a way to get around the 01 here. Oh, he just put himself in the wall.
And that's not the first time I've heard that car make contact with the wall. I heard him probably about 3 or 4 laps ago make contact with the outside of turn 2. So he ain't saving. He's driving that thing home.
Now, do you think Brody Gunter's also doing the same? Is he pushing hard? Because that would explain why he's able to keep this 73 car behind him. But I don't feel like it's in Gunter's nature to really push too hard at this point in the race.
Oh,
there you
God,
go.
you gotta stop doing that, Casey.
It's like the 3rd lap in a row that he's done that now?
Consistency.
Yeah, that's not the type of consistency that wins races, though. That's
Hey, man, it's consistency.
It is evolving, just backwards. Still holding
Can
with
we start rating him?
Sorry, what now?
Can we start rating the wall hits that the Casey Campbell's after here? Oh, we missed it this time.
There we go. He's getting there. Just had to find that rhythm. And look at that. Immediately after, he immediately drives straight to the back bumper and nearly gets him down to the turn 1.
Difficulty he's got is that's a car on old tires, you know, and he's on freshies and he's not really been able to make an impact with them.
I feel like that's the big thing about all of this, right? And why this is such a significant battle. It's because it's, for one, you think, oh yeah, it's good. It's given the dominant car this season. The problem is that dominant car is on 20 lap older tires. He should make quick work of this car, and he is not doing that.
Grootsmark is actually coming back to these guys again as well, so Clean Air has not really been able to make much. And the other problem is remember we were talking about Higgy was saving quite a lot of tires. He was just starting to pick his way through when that caution came out. Well, the problem for Higgy is that these guys are getting a tow. He's got no draft at the moment. He's just outside the draft range. So he is doing all he can to try and make some inroads into these guys. And he is slipping further and further back just because they've got draft in the straight line. It's worth probably a 1/10.5 to 2/10 per straight.
Further down the field, you still got Alex Howland and Corey Rutherford as well in their own scraps. So there's still others.
Rutherford's coming to the line.
Which one?
Corey Rutherford. He was that Campbell? That was Campbell in.
Yeah.
Not Gunter. Interesting.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, that's a mistake. Because what does he do here, right? Does he throw more tires at it? If so, he's only got one set and lost the rest of the race.
Jarrell Williams behind just came into pit road. Super hot. Here comes race leader Mark Krenke in as well. They may have started to hit that fuel limit that we were talking about earlier on rather than the pit road limit. There you see Williams ducking into pit road himself. We'll take a look on his pit road entry in just a moment. But right now, you got some pretty big hitters in this race down in the pit road. In fact, pretty much everybody.
Yeah. There is one car on the racetrack right now.
Is it Tommy Cook? Oh, Cook's getting back on the racetrack.
Yeah, I was talking 13, 14, so I'm thinking Rutherford Fleming were the only two, sorry.
Probably, yeah. Mark Krenke making his way back out onto the racetrack. Dylan Grutzmacher behind in the number 2 spot. Gunter with 3rd, then it'll be Hege for 4th, then Morris being passed up by Alex Howland. And here comes Tommy Cook to blast around all of them as he came down to pit road a lap earlier.
Good run through the lane too. Interesting to note as well, Krenke is going to gain a ton of time on pit road this time by, as did Grutzmacher. So remember, Grutzmacher and Gunter were about level pegging when they entered the lane, right? There was about half a second between those two drivers. This will be the pit lane entry that you were talking about.
That is a very hot entry. I am shocked that he did not get a speeding penalty there. He must have, because remember, it's not a 100% thing, right? They averaged out in segments down pit road. So you can speed in one, but so long as you can slow it down under the speed limit, it takes the average and uses that to judge if you're speeding or not. So while, yes, he was in super hot, he must have slammed it down so quickly that he was able to ensure that he wouldn't be getting that call for speeding in pit road by getting the average just down to where he needed to get it to.
Fun fact, I've been doing a lot of testing in these cars for road courses of late. And the brake pedal in the 1.5 mile configuration is significantly better than it is on the road courses. So I think that's down to aero package and potentially a smaller brake package when they go to road courses, which is designed to help overtaking. But yeah, the brake pedal on these things feels ugly on road courses, and for these tracks, it actually feels quite good.
Well, you mentioned it feels ugly on road courses. We have a pretty unorthodox road course for a NASCAR race coming on up just next week at the at Interlagos. So what does that bode for us next week then? There's quite a few downhill braking zones on that track.
I'm tempted to throw my hat in the ring and come run for a race, I'll tell you that much.
It'll be interesting for sure. I hope we get this kind of a field size there. That is also such a great track for racing.
Love Interlagos. It's just a brilliant track. This package is not suited to the track, and that's what makes it great.
Oh, Howland into the wall again, this time off of turn 2. And that cost him half a tenth back to Casey Campbell all the way down the backstretch and into turn 3.
Oh my word, I'm just having a look at the lap times at the moment. Guys with fresh tires are 7 to 8 tenths of a second a lap faster than Krenke and Grutzmacher.
You see the last lap up on the boards there. Krenke with a 31.01 last time by. Grutzmacher 30.93. Gunter, Cook, and Hege all within 5 tenths of 30.12 to 0.17. 0.81 that time by for Krenke, 0.85 for Grutzmacher, 1.3 for Gunter, 0.8 for Hege, and 1.3 again for Tommy Cook. So they are being reeled in quite steadily by about 6-7 tenths of a second every single lap.
Yeah, they're in trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. So a little bit of an off lap for Krenke to start us off there when we first have a look at the time, but the benefit is tires, the fuel margin that they run on this car, the fuel stop under green flag conditions is like 6 seconds quicker. So they pulled a huge margin. Remember, we were talking about Grutzmacher to Gunter when they come out, and that margin was about 7 seconds. They were half a second apart prior to the pit stop. So it did swing things massively back in their favor, and it has created a situation whereby there was an advantage to running it that way, but that advantage is now worn off massively, and within a couple laps, it's going to be gone.
Josh Rutherford coming in for a scheduled pit stop, 14 seconds in and out. So he's back out onto the racetrack. Haven't talked much about Nate Morris, but man, how the mighty have fallen. Nate Morris started his race from pole position. Ever since he got caught up in that big wreck, he has dropped back to 9th, and he has not been able to recover.
So I was taking a quick, I did take a couple looks at Nate Morris and what he was doing in the practice session. Now, I will say, in his benefit and everyone's benefit, is that when you shift from an afternoon practice session to a nighttime race, conditions change quite massively, which means the car drives different, the way that you approach the run drives completely different. You know, you've got to change things up just a little bit. Chicagoland doesn't tinker about doesn't change up too much because the car sets and drives relatively similar. But if this was another track, there would definitely be quite a different feeling and style to the way that the car drives around the circuit. But from Nate Morris's perspective, he spent a lot of time on the short run. Now, I've got in pole position, but there's 160 laps there. And you're going to be doing 30 to 40 lap runs throughout that period. So he focused very much on a short section of the race. If this was a Richmond, if this was a Bristol, yes, absolutely put that amount of work into it. He needed to do a lot more long runs.
Brody Gunter caught Dylan Grutzmacher just there for the number 2 spot, and now you can see that three-way fight for 7 splitting with some lap traffic down the middle there. That was Joshua Rutherford and Travis Fleming that were getting around. Morris has dropped off as a result of that one. They'll lap Paul Ellison. About a 2-horse race now between Howland and Campbell, but Morris is starting to reel them in a bit more. So he's able to catch them. He's just not able to do anything to get around them.
Yeah, and dirty air is the big thing. So he's not searching around. He's looking to stick in that air, which tells me that there is, instead of having a multi-groove sort of track and feel to this car and this package, there is more of a single groove. I've seen Higgy moving around the track quite a little bit. He seems to be about the only one. Everyone else really wants to get to that bottom.
Nate Morris finally making the move. I think he heard us as he gets around Casey Campbell. That puts him up to 8th, and now 3/10 up the road to Alex Howland. So Howland now going to be under some heavy fire from the pole sitter tonight. Under 100 laps to go, but still over 90. So we are not even close to halfway still. This race still has a lot within it.
Just keeping an eye on Higgy at the moment. He's actually the fastest car on track and has been quite consistently. He's actually taking 0.2 of a second a lap out of Brody Gunter. Now, should this go very, very long, at the moment he's about 3 seconds back. It's going to take him probably in the realm of, through 30 laps or so to get back up there. But if he can just keep turning these times and keep putting the car in these reasonable positions, and he's getting some drafting support at the moment, he's going to run him down. It may take a significant amount of time, but he's really got good long run pace.
That could be very, very valuable, It's good for practice. It's a good result now wouldn't change his standing in the overall standings, but he doesn't have to. He's already effectively secure into the playoffs from the good run that he and Gunter have had all season long. But what this does help, it helps to get a leg up as he'll catch the wall there. But this would help him get a leg up for that first playoff round, which is at 1.5 miles and a legacy one at that. The 2009 scan of Texas Motor Speedway. A track that drives much differently from this one, but a track where you could still get some long green flag runs. So having that long run practice in here could be invaluable, especially since Kansas is also just 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to say Legacy Atlanta. I love that place. Give me a tire-burning race. Is he going to clear out the barrier again?
Boy.
Just. So the car will be fine with that. The car will accept that kind of level of punishment. It's designed to. They're designed to be a little bit more rigid and take that sort of a whack. So that's totally fine. There's nothing too much going on there. But you can just see Tommy Cook gets in the way here, and all of a sudden his run stalls out. So he's got 2 options. He can either push Cook a little bit harder, he can go back to saving, or he can drive it harder for a couple laps and try and get the job done. And they both want the same line through the corners as the difficulty he's having.
Now, if I'm Higgy, honestly, I'm considering just running behind him because where you're running like this, it's a bit slower, but they're both reeling in the race leader, and they're both reeling in Brody Gunter still. So they're still faster than the number 2 place car of the racetrack. Well, until that happened, now they're going to be side by side as Cook slips up out of turn 2, and here comes Higgy looking for the high side to get around him. And while that's all going on, Brody Gunter attacking Crankcave for the race lead.
And this is critical. The fact that that battle up ahead is going on at the same time gives Higgy the time that he needs to get this job done, right? So if the problem is, if he wasn't battling at this point in time, this is time that he would be losing, but he's okay. Gonna clear Cook now. Now we can get after that race lead.
And look at how Tommy Cook immediately starts dropping back. He's already half a second down on Joshua Higgy. Didn't have a good run through turn 2 there. Now Higgy gonna drive this one in around the top shelf. It's a long way up the road to try to run down Brody Gunter.
Get some time out of him, though.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
About a tenth and a half of a second. So, oh,
well, nah, a bit more than that.
Cook gonna get back past him, or Cook gets back past him? That's just awesome. Get back to the bottom, son.
Look at how much he tore that right front up here. It's a bit hard to tell with the paint job, but you can see all of that paint damage on the right-hand side. That is bad news for Higgy. That could easily have messed up the steering a little bit there.
So he's just got to back up his entries a little bit more, make sure he's rotating the car all the way back to the bottom. Much, much better. He lost half a second now. And he spent a long time sort of making that happen.
Oh, boy!
Oh, Morris.
Wild run there for Nate Morris coming through turn 2. As Morris slipping up big time. Take a ride on board with him. He's alongside with Alex Howland right now, fighting that out through 1 and 2. And it looks like he's just gotten loose.
Yep. But look at what I said, though. That's the transition back up the racetrack out of 2, and that's one of the most bad sections of the racetrack. It's natural trend is to get loose in that section.
Only 4 laps away from the halfway point as well, and that's where we're going to be awarding the stage points for the middle portion of this race. Krinke in his rookie start is on his way to getting some pretty decent points here in his season's in his season debut. Right now, he could very well be on par to easily put himself even into the top 30 in the points at the end of this race. That'd be huge for a driver with only 1 start to his name.
Yeah. Also says, you know, he can race clean, he can run clean, he's cut his way through the field, he's been at the front, he's been at the back at different points in time. Threw an alternate tire strategy out, and hey, it's working. I don't hate seeing alternate tire strategies. The reason they tend to not work is because, well, they tend to not work. But this would be the second time this season we've seen it being quite successful as well. Gunther's in some traffic and struggling at the moment, though.
Problem is, Joshua Higgy hasn't been able to make much on him either. In fact, he's only slipped back ever since he caught that wall big time in turn 2. Corey Rutherford just hit pit road. That's really big for the stage points, which is only 2 laps away.
Did he bail early intentionally to try and flip it, though, and just go after the pace? Because the other side of the coin is he can't make it on fuel from here. We haven't seen cars run long enough to make it on fuel, so he's in trouble.
Battle for second is on. As Joshua Higgy takes away the number 2 spot. Krinke back to 3rd. Alex Howland and Nate Morris in a dogfight as well, still for that 6th place spot. But we're turning to the final lap now in stage 1, and that has just bumped Corey Rutherford out of the points for the stage. He's got a little bit of a buffer zone to work with, but I don't know if that's a chance I'd be willing to take in his position. Gunter wins the first stage of the night. Higgy will take 2nd, Krinke 3rd. Then it is Cook back in 4th. Dylan Grutzbacher comes home for 5th. Nate Morris will be 6th. Alex Howland 7th. Casey Campbell in 8th. And then Jan Van Leer and Jarrell Williams will close out the field, with Williams being 1 lap down.
Different strategies at work here. Different...
Here comes Tommy Cook immediately after the stage. He is in and lock it up. The fronts gets it down in time.
Gets the job done, though. Gets
Campbell's missed it. Case
No,
Campbell
he hasn't
just
made it.
Oh my goodness. How did he make that?
Well done. Had to pull the car up major, though, so we did lose some time on the entry to make that work. He's coming this time by.
Missed the commitment line. that would definitely be a penalty from NASCAR if this were the real world. I can tell you that much right now.
Hell yeah, sim racing, baby.
Nate Morris is in, Howland is in, Higgy is in. So pretty much everybody was waiting for that stage, and now they're all coming to pit road. They will not be able to make it to the end. At least one more pit stop still in store for these drivers. Jan van Leer comes down to pit road as well. When do the top 3 come in?
Interesting to see how long they go. I'm interested to see how Nate can resurrect this race. He's capable. Very, very capable. But, yeah, interesting. Krinky's going long here.
So is Dylan Grutzmacher. And Jared Williams.
Which I guess they kind of have to. Krinky's going to be in now. Yeah. This time, I wonder whether or not Grutzmacher will follow him down.
Jared Williams is trying to go, oh boy, look out, lock it down, good job. But Jared Williams is going long. He was already a lap down. He was hoping, I think trying to gamble that there might be a caution he could get back onto the lead lap, but it just didn't fall that way, unfortunately. Here you see Krinke into pit road.
Oh, Ellison's blowing up. Ellison is blowing smoke at the back end of that car, so the radiator is so damaged he cannot keep the temperatures down.
How is that possible? That radiator looks like it hasn't been touched.
Oh, he got touched in a big way, if you remember.
That's a shame for Ellison. That just happened a few seconds ago, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
He'll take his car into pit road. And that looks like it'll be game over for the Alabama gang driver. This is the look. The lap prior coming into turn 1.
He just go maybe a gear too low, or?
You didn't hear a loud pop.
I mean, he's hot, so the engine hasn't let go. But he was hot. It was starting to get to the point where it's blowing seals.
Well, he is still in the car. Maybe he was taking that opportunity to take it down pit road. No, he was not. Steve Carman is in just behind on his scheduled pit stop, taking 4 tires after he was collected in one of the yellow flags earlier this afternoon for the 383. Jan van Leer under fire by Casey Campbell. Campbell on the last one with a 9.3 seconds.
Jared Williams is to the wall. Hard. Turn 1.
Oh boy. The dramas continue.
It was whilst he was on, Joshua Higi's outside too.
On board with Williams. There's Joshua Higi down to the inside of the racetrack. Williams trying to drive around him and just went straight. I think he got distracted by that car that's inside and missed where the throttle up point was.
Just went too hard at it. That's probably hard enough to do some more damage to the right front tire too.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
with the angle we hit the wall at. Corey Rutherford though.
Fought his way up to 3rd. But remember, he did pit 5 laps earlier. Now, that said, he did not take tires. It was only an 8-second stop. In fact, the only drivers that took tires, I think, were Krenke, Grutzmacher, and Howland. And Carmen. I think everybody else they took the fuel only stopped that last time by.
So Rutherford must have been saving major.
No doubt. Look at how much he's able to breeze by Higi up in a second with that. So the Mullen Music Productions at number 5 continue his strong run around the racetrack, deeper in the field. And right in front of the race leader, well, about half a lap behind the race leaders, Jan van Leer and Casey Campbell still embroiled in their own little grudge match. Here is Krenke on fresh tires. He is steadily catching up to Tommy Cook.
Swings and roundabouts, Nolan. Swings and roundabouts. We're currently on the roundabout. We'll jump back on the swing later.
Look at how much he's able to run down Cook. Cook had to lift for sure to avoid going into the wall there in turn 2. As Cook goes up to the high side, Krenke down low, and Krenke's got him. no fight at all there from Tommy Cook. I think he realized he was not going to win that fight, so he just decided to get it over with as quick as possible so he would lose as little time as possible.
So just doing some numbers here, Nolan, I think we're going to have about a 10-lap splash and dash. The tricky part for that is Clinky's just taken tires. He's got one more set left, which means that's that one run. Now, does he take the splash and dash in the middle and then come back down 10 laps later and run it hard to the end of the race with fresh tires? Or does he take fresh tires on the next stop and run it hard for both? What about the rest of the field? A 10-lap splash and dash, in terms of fuel, that's 10 seconds. That's 8 to 10 seconds worth of a shorter pit stop. It's only going to be, 10 laps. You're going to have to be a second a lap faster than someone to run that track. That's not going to happen. So on that 10-lap dash, you're not going to take tires. The best way to go is not to take tires. So we've got a really, really interesting race. I think Krinky is now back on the preferred strategy.
Something's going on with Grutzmacher here. He passed Nate Morris about 3 laps ago, and he just lost that spot again. Only about 30 seconds later. So I think something's going on here for the 388. He's dropping in pace. And that was with Morris having a bit of a snap as well, coming off of turn number 2. What do you think's going on here with this 388 car? Because he's also lost spot to Alex Howland.
I don't know. That seems weird. Maybe he might be sitting in the car rhyming like some sort of poetry buff.
He's got fresh tires at least, so that's a start. But
no, you know it's time for my favorite ad read of the season.
Oh, I know it is. It's been long overdue, hasn't it? Want to race open, but not sure if your setup is up to snuff. Want to race something made by someone who knows their stuff. Want to know why we're asking random questions in rhyming fashion like we're some sort of poetry buff? Check out twrsetups.com. Their setups are meticulously crafted and personally run by their top-tier drivers and by all ASRL competitors to assure that you get the best there is. So don't delay. Join the wild side of setup shops today.
And to back that up, I can give you some really, really good feedback. Basically, the guys that I run with over on my Oval team, they always talk about Team Watson setups. Some of the quickest setups you're going to find in qualifying. Basically, I think we were talking about it last night, it was Team Conti or Team Watson were pretty much #1 in terms of time. So very, very lightning quick setups.
Scott, watch the RPMs here on Dylan Grutzmacher. We just found the reason about why he's been so slow. He's putting in that clutch and shutting the car off in the middle of 1 and 3. That explains a lot. He is on a fuel-saving strategy right now.
Remember we said we got to define. He's doing the same. He is absolutely doing the same. Higgie's pace has just dropped like a rock. Remember I said Corey Rutherford drove past this car like it was standing still? He's doing exactly the same.
This has just gotten real interesting. To be clutching and coasting when you're over 60 laps from the end, you know they are setting themselves up for a huge long-time strategy. They're trying to cut out that splash and go that you alluded to earlier.
Yeah. So, okay. So the way that this works in terms of the splash and go is that the splash and dash, compared to taking four tires, is worth about 10 seconds shorter in terms of that pit stop. However, it's worth about a lap and a half if you don't have to take the pit stop. So what's that worth in terms of track time? It's going to be worth about 40 seconds. So you can afford to give up 40 seconds if you can make it to the end. Grutzmacher realized it earlier, and his pace dipped massively much, much earlier. So I think if anyone makes it, it will be Grutzmacher. I just think he cottoned onto the strategy way too late.
You know what? You want to know what I love even more than Chicagoland Speedway? A
Corey
fuel
Rutherford
mileage
driving
race.
it hard. Corey Rutherford not detecting that it was a fuel mileage race.
I'm a bit surprised that he wasn't one of the drivers that joined in on this strategy. You'd think he would have been on that right from the get-go. He's always trying to make it a fuel mileage race.
Yeah. And the other thing to consider is that no one came down for that extra lap of fuel under caution much, much earlier. If they had, because remember we had 2 cautions back to back, if they'd have come back down for extra fuel under that caution, that would mean their save would only be a couple of laps compared to everyone else. You can do that and maintain a reasonable pace. So,
Crankcase just started doing the same.
No way. No, he won't make it. He absolutely will not make it. He is way too deep into the run. Way too deep.
Yeah, I can guarantee you he very much has. I heard the RPMs drop big time. Watch the speed here. See how much he drops back to about 160, 155 or so. Meanwhile, he's keeping that pace up all the way through the corners. So, yeah, Cranke is very much on that clutch and coast strategy now as well. But if you've waited this long, you've laid that boat. You've laid your bed. You just got to land it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to save 10 laps of fuel in 60 laps. Not going to happen.
Tommy Cook is in a pit road with under 60 laps to go. He will still have one more pit stop ahead of him this afternoon. And he's taking 4 tires as well. So he's going to end up being right now the fastest car out on the racetrack once he gets up to speed. Corey Rutherford, don't tell me. Okay, he has not started to do the fuel saving strategy. I thought he had for a moment, but he not yet. But Howland is putting them under some heavy fire here for the number 2 spot.
And Crinky just looks at these guys and says, all right, if that's what you want to do, I mean, I'll sit here and fuel save a lot longer. Well, it's not Crinky in behind them either.
Oh, Rutherford into the wall, gets a bit crossed up. Drifts down the racetrack, but by the time he got to where Howland was, he was already clear. That's too high up again. That 5 car's making me nervous here coming off of these corners. You know, if we get a caution, it is going to just blow this whole fuel run strategy out of the water by guaranteeing a one-stop fuel stop later on in the race.
Yeah, right now it will for sure. Taking a look, Grutzmacher is, of all the guys that are fuel saving right now, he's running the best pace. I think Brody Gunter just cottoned onto it. Gunter's pace has all of a sudden dropped.
I didn't hear him lifting in turn 1. We'll ride on board to turn 3 and see. No fuel saving from him. I wonder if he's just burned his tires up.
Maybe.
Because remember, he is on old tires. His last tire stop was in the first half of the race. So he is on about, what, 60, 70 lap old tires now. So those things are gone right now. And here comes Corey Rutherford into pit road. He's the first of the fuel savers to take that stop. He's not going to make it to the end from here. There's no way.
No, he's got to go hard. But this gives us a really, really good marker, right? So 50 laps, 53 laps at the end. So I think he's actually undercut it a little bit. That's about 24 laps since his most recent stop. So he is not on the fuel save strategy. We need to go another 10 laps from here before we start to see everyone else. I think it's about 38 laps they need to get to. Grutzmacher's in. Grutzmacher won't make it.
Oh boy. Maybe a gamble that just hasn't paid off.
Well, he was saving the hardest the earliest.
He's not the only one. Jan Van Leer's also into pit road this time from 8th. There you see Joshua Rutherford coming back down to pit road. There's Jan Van Leer. Fuel only for Grutzmacher. He didn't take tires there.
He's in a hole in terms of strategy, so this should be the splash and dash for Grutzmacher, in theory.
I think Corey Rutherford and Tommy Cook are right now in the dogfight. Cook pitted on lap 101, Corey Rutherford on lap 106, and Tommy Cook looking to blitz by him, and he's going to get that spot for 8th place down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. Corey Rutherford way up to the high side, but no move being made, and Cook takes that one away. He's up one further spot within the top 10.
Hope we get to chat to Tommy Cook and ask him what the difference between left sides and 4 tires feels like.
Oh boy, I don't think he would appreciate that question. I do agree, though. We should ask him.
It has to be asked.
We
Yeah,
can just-
journalism, media.
We can just add him in the Discord later. Get an answer from there. Oh boy! Oh, push it up!
Oh.
Corey Rutherford and Cook nearly coming together. That could have been caution number 3 right there in 4.
Yeah, I was about to say, you wanted that caution? I think we just about got it. My word.
I thought for sure Corey was about to get right rear hooked head on into the outside fence.
You want a fun fact? This race is nearly the exact same number of laps as the Bathurst 1000. It's 161.
Really?
And, well, the Bathurst 1000 yesterday only had 1 caution in it. It came later on in the race, but this one's not going to take 6 hours, though, Nolan.
You see all those tire marks out back there? I think there's a story from Alex Howland showing he was off track for 1.5 seconds. Well, that was not where I expected him to be, but to each their own. Those marks were already there. When in the world are those tire marks from? I wonder if that was from Casey Campbell earlier, but this is Alex Howland. Oh, he straddled that apron. Oh my gosh, Scott, we were talking about this before. We were talking about this before this race went live. We were talking about how you cannot straddle that transition when you're coming down to pit road. And I was mentioning every time we come here, there's one person that tries it. And every time they find out the same lesson that has been taught dozens upon dozens upon dozens of times that it does not work, and we just had it again.
Yep. Yeah, we did.
Here comes Jarrett Williams into pit road. Corey Rutherford, again, having got around Tommy Cook, he's back onto the podium. Mark Krenke right now with the race lead, only 2 cars on the lead lap. But that's only because your race leader is not pitted as of yet. Krenke going really long. See if he can make the strategy work, but I don't think there's any way. The longest fuel run so far today has been about 32 to 30 laps or so.
So he went to give you guys some context, for him to get to a position where he might possibly make it home, he's going to run about 37, 38 laps on this stint, right? So he pit at the end of 84. He's going to run 38 laps to get himself to 122, which will be a 38-lap run home. So he's got to save 4 laps a run.
That's a lot to commit to. I mean, you're losing seconds a lap in order to get that done.
Well, Gunter's a really good mark. We've got the comparative lap times at the moment, right? Gunter to Krinky. And Gunter's on fresh tires, so he is going hard. And just look at them powering. So we're going to start getting a bunch of different cars back on the lead lap here. The big benefit he's got... No, he's coming in. He cannot make it. So he's lost a boatload of time for no advantage now.
He tried. Oh, he might lose more as he's sideways on pit entry. Trying to lock it down. He just gets it to pit road speed in time. Had a lot of close calls on pit entry. I feel like Chicagoland's a very easy track to underestimate because a lot of tracks, like Texas, like Kentucky, like Las Vegas, they have a pretty straight run and then a relatively tight run through the tri-oval. Chicagoland's very different. It's a much wider, sweeping arc, which means a much more violent angle of attack when you're trying to hit pit road, much like what you have at a track like Atlanta Motor Speedway or Charlotte Motor Speedway. And I feel that because of how wide and how fast this track is, it's super easy to underestimate that coming in.
Well, for the race fans that are watching along at home, the big thing for you guys is you look at that and you go, well, why is the car handling so different? And the big reason is the car's set for the banking. The car is not set for the flat. So what happens is as you transition down across that white line at the bottom of the racetrack, you get 2 tires below that line, and effectively all your downforce goes away whilst that happens because the bottom end of the car gets raised up. There's no under downforce going on. There's no ground effect being applied to the bottom end of these cars. So they lose downforce for a moment. So you sort of got to come off the brakes as you transition across the banking. Then you get down on the flat, and you got a car that's configured to be spending most of its racing life up on the banking. So it's, you know, unlike sports cars that are designed for, racing generally on flat surfaces with a lot of bumps, left and right turns, they're configured for that. These cars are not. So you know, the braking feel as
Uh-oh.
you cross that line and pull it up, very, very different.
Crinke's it again. He just came back down pit road after his initial pit stop. I think he got a penalty. And that would have been a
Which
penalty
means-
on exit.
Exit.
13 seconds and he's off. He left the pit road 1 lap earlier. Had 14 seconds in the box, and now he's come back in for another 13. That doesn't track. Because
No, it
usually a
doesn't.
penalty if you come to your box is a 1 lap stop and hold. So
Well,
he didn't forget to take tires because he was in the pits for 14 seconds on his first stop. So why would he come down again?
he was a touch fast at the cone, but I don't think he should have gotten a penalty.
Well,
I'm
again,
thinking
if he got the
It's an
penalty,
unsafe exit?
well, if he got the penalty on entry, he would have had to serve that penalty on the same pit stop. He wouldn't have come back around. But again, if you're speeding on pit road, it's a 1 lap stop and hold. That wouldn't be 13 seconds. And
You know what I think's happened? I think he's got tires but no fuel.
oh, and then he just oh no! Don't tell me he just wasted a set of tires again.
No, well, he would be out of tires, so he's had to do a lap, come back in, and just put fuel in the car.
But that doesn't take you 13 seconds.
To fill the car? Maybe?
Every time we've seen a fuel only stop, it's only been about 8-9 seconds tops. It doesn't take that long to get fuel in the car.
Something weird happened there for sure.
That's a weird one. That has also put him down 2 laps, so that has just killed his race.
I'm gonna have to check the post-race to events just to see if there was a black flag applied, because I'm not seeing anything that should have applied a flag.
I don't see anything either. I mean, there's not. Irish doesn't give out 13-second penalties. They just don't give out that type of penalty. It doesn't happen. So
Well,
that
there
has
is
to have been a
a-
pit stop mistake of sorts.
Well, what can happen is you get issued a 40-second stop and hold, right, which is effectively your 1 lap penalty. If you turn off all of your pit service and you pull up in your box, it will reduce it to a 3 or 4 second penalty, but not 13. 13 is a really, really odd number.
It's an unlucky number too, ironically.
He is running down Jarrell Williams, though, so there's a good chance that he might still gain some spots on the night.
And you've still got this fighting between Grutzmacher, Higi, and Morris going on as well throughout this battle pack as well, while all of this has been going on. Can we just talk about how great this race has been? I mean, has there been a lot of cautions? Absolutely not. The field's been very separated, but there's still a lot to talk about at this racetrack. There always has been throughout this whole race. We're already in the final quarter. We got less than 40 laps to go.
Yeah, I mean, I love this racetrack. What can I say?
Such a hidden gem.
Why did it stop getting supported? Who did that?
I think low attendance numbers. I think that. I'll have to look into it, though.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in them. See, we have Oran Park over in Australia, but the reason that it got knocked down was because housing developments were going up in the area, so it kind of had to get removed.
So it hosted race up to 2019. It got its race dates canceled due to the pandemic back in 2020, and it just never reopened. That's all it was. And then they moved to the Chicago street circuit from there.
Surely somebody needs to pick this place up, repair it, and put it back together. If they're repairing Rockingham, if they're repairing...
They're going to be back to Rockingham next year. The Xfinity
Yeah?
Truck Series and ARCA are all going there.
What a waste of a race date. I'm sorry.
Auto Club. You can say the same for Auto Club.
I mean, what a great racetrack. And there's another one that's been ruined by developments.
And just a reminder, Texas Motor Speedway still has 2 dates, inexplicably. Nothing in the world that you can tell me that will possibly justify that. Yeah, Chicagoland, North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, they all got done dirty. by NASCAR. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just the truth of the matter. Alberta Gunter continues to lead the way, 4.6 seconds out. Right now, the lone battle, 3/4 of a second out between Hege and Morris. So I think we're going to give ourselves a quick step back as race action, really for the first time all day long, drops off to a point where we can take a break. So we're going to take ourselves a step back and return with the final laps on Green Flag TV.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Final round of pit stops underway. Dylan Grutzmacher is into pit road. You've seen several other drivers like Tommy Cook having some close shaves on entry. Less than 25 laps to go, excuse me, as Brody Gunter continuing to lead the way in absolute dominant fashion. Nate Morris has just come out of pit road, and he, I think, had technical problems because, well, he dropped out of the race earlier on, back on lap 131. He didn't appear for 5 laps.
I did manage to get back in the race at least, so there is that. Crinky's race is destroyed now with the issues, and I think we're literally down to 3 cars in the lead lap.
And you see Casey Campbell having Corey Rutherford absolutely fly by around the outside of the racetrack on this one. It is worth noting a good handful of cars still have not come down to pit road. The top 3 have not come down to the pits yet. So Alex Howland is in now. Brody Gunter's last stop was on lap 112. There's Joshua Higgy coming down to pit road. Corey Rutherford, that'll get him back onto the lead lap once Brody Gunter comes down to pit road. Casey Campbell is in, as is Jared Williams, and in fact, there is Gunter in a pit road.
Yeah, I think Gunter saw the lap times. He just came out of Corey Rutherford and was like, yeah, I got to cover that off. So.
And here you see Corey Rutherford himself coming around off of turn numbers 3 and 4. He will put himself back onto the lead lap. And we'll get this show back on the road with just 20 laps on the docket.
Can we have some more arguments about how NASCAR's done some tracks dirty, or racetracks in general? Just because we've lost so much culture out of the sport. How could we lose Fontana? I mean, Auto Club, baby. I love. Okay, Auto Club. To be fair, I'm biased. Auto Club has my highest win percentage of any track anywhere, so I'm a little biased.
You know what? At least we have it on iRacing. It's still preserved in one of the best motorsport simulators of all time. So there is still, it's still here at least. And hey, NASCAR is recognizing its mistakes elsewhere. North Wilkesboro has made, well, it was set to make a good comeback. The Gen 7 cars shockingly aren't great on short track still. So, you know,
no.
While NASCAR's return to North Wilkesboro has been great, there have been other great races there. Look at the Wheel and Modified Tour. They've had some phenomenal races there. The Cars Tour, the ASA All-Stars Tour. They have had some great races at North Wilkesboro Speedway. They're returning to the Rockingham with 3 big series next year, and the Cup Series could be right behind them. There is still a chance. I think NASCAR is finally realizing that they've made some of those mistakes earlier on, and they are starting to turn some around. We were looking at Chicagoland afterwards. It is still used by the Super Motocross World Championship. So Chicagoland still not down and out, but it would take a lot, I think, for them to bring it back.
I think it's seeing a lot more 2-tire stops these days. I'll say that much.
Stephen Carmen. Bit of an awkward pit entry line on this. So look out. Kept it off the wall. Didn't lose too much time.
Pit entry has been a point of contention here today.
No kidding.
Did not expect
pretty much
that.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Well, with only 17 laps to go, we'll give you a quick update of what's going on over the next week on Green Flag TV. High Tide Racing League, Epic Race Design's Premier Series. As well, I'm going to cut myself there as Alex Howland and Tommy Cook immediately enter a battle for the final podium position. Look at Cook with that great drive from the high side to get around Howland.
You know what we were talking about prior to the show tonight was actually Johnny Hamby being relevant in terms of the points and getting his way in the playoffs. Not here tonight. That's relevant. That's a big story.
You're not wrong.
And next week we head to Interlagos, so...
Johnny Hamby not present this afternoon. He was only 4 points out from Matt Schlosser. Matt Schlosser, though, another big name that has not been here the last few weeks. And the big reason for that, Matt Schlosser is no longer going to be in championship contention. That much is a confirmed deal because Schlosser has had to pull out from this series. He's got commitments elsewhere. But we still see him making starts with the Speed Cup series on Thursday nights. So Matt Schlosser still present elsewhere, but in ASRL, he is effectively done for the show. So that will So Alex Howland here, he can actually make a big run for that 10th place. He was entering this race looking to be about 33 points out, but with the main two ahead of him not present. And Alex Howland right now running in the top 5. He should be able to easily get up and onto the bump spot. Had to put his main competition with Casey Campbell, who's 28 points behind him.
Yeah, a few different drivers moving around in terms of point standing. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, left on the table. I think playoffs is a lot more open than we necessarily expect to.
No kidding. There you see Hickey and Cook exchanging blows once again. This time Joshua Hickey making a quick run up in a third. So with Hickey back up into the number 3 spot once again, High Tide going back out to America's Home for Motorsports, but this time, unlike the oval that we've seen for the last 2 seasons, it's the Roval, not the new one. Iverson hasn't scanned it. Still working on the old Roval. That'll be at 9 o'clock p.m. tomorrow night, Eastern Time. For the ASRL Cup Series, it's their first eliminator round of the season as they'll be knocking out the bottom 2 drivers in the chase for the Cup at the Brickyard this coming Tuesday. The Beer League with its season opener for season number 9. Running the Spec Racer Fords on Wednesday night with the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve playing host to round number 1. The Speed Cup Series will be running out at Las Vegas for another round of the playoffs. But the big one, the VSCA Sports Car Championship, closes out their championship with a 10-hour endurance race from Braselton, Georgia. It's Petit Le Mans from Road Atlanta to close things out on Saturdays. And then, of course, ASRL back in full force as well. Next week when they run out to Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache at Interlagos, and that'll be a race sponsored by Tommy Cook. 46 laps with only 2 races left after tonight before playoffs.
Yeah, gotta find some speed, gotta find it at the right time of the season too. Time to put some extra practice in, buckle in. V8 Supercars is introducing playoffs next year. They're just not calling it playoffs.
What are they calling the not playoffs?
The finals series.
No.
Yeah, they are.
Just no, I don't believe you.
No, they are. They are, legitimately. So what's going to happen is they run through to the end of Bathurst. So they have a Sprint Cup, they have an Endurance Cup. So when the Endurance Cup ends, they get the top 10 drivers. If you win, they kind of have a win in your in style system where if you win the Sprint Cup, which is the first half of the season, you automatically get locked in. When you win the Endurance Cup, you automatically get locked in. But the drivers that are going to win both of those are automatically going to point their way in anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant.
Okay. I thought you were going to say they're going to do a NASCAR where if you win one race, you get in. I was about to...
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No.
There's some logic to that.
I mean... The difficulty is, why are playoffs so important to the culture in NASCAR? The playoffs are so important to the culture in NASCAR because there's 36 races a year. How do you make the final 10 races of the year relevant when you have 36 of them? You need a playoff system. Supercars only has 12.
I disagree with the fact that you absolutely need to have a playoff system. There was one season where they had one driver run away with it, and that's what triggered this. It was a knee-jerk reaction. But so many other champions, and in fact, there are people online that do this all the time. They'll look through and they'll actually run down what the championship would have looked like. And so often, it still comes down to the last race or two, where you still have a mathematical chance to go for the championship. There's no reason for a playoff system. So, Scott, you are Australian. I can't afford the flight right now. I want you to go to the Supercars head and just show them a video that Slapshoes made about why playoffs are stupid and bad. Show them that video in person, and then tell them to justify why they're putting it in. No racing series needs playoffs, and I will die on that hill.
At
least, okay, let me rephrase. They don't need the playoff system that NASCAR has, because it is insane to a different degree.
I like the eliminations. I like the drama of it. It absolutely makes for story. Well, you look at it. You look at racing media. It creates stories. It absolutely sells it as a product. I think from a NASCAR perspective, and you've got to remember, right, that you guys have not really all that many rules, right? You can bump somebody out of the playoffs. You can turn someone out of the playoffs. That's legal. That's not
Except
legal
when
in
it
road course
isn't.
racing.
Except when it isn't. NASCAR has been very, very finicky on what does and does not count for that. They've been, yeah, it's a whole thing. But 4 laps to go.
Driving the wall at Martinsville is legal to get yourself into the playoffs, but only once.
Yeah, not anymore. they patched that rule real quick. You know what? I
Do you
can't.
think they found the bug?
I can't blame them. I feel like it wasn't a knee-jerk rule in creation, yes, but that was a very necessary one because if they did not do it, you know what was going to happen next year. Everybody was going to do it on the final lap. They couldn't have it.
It makes it so that being on the inside at Martinsville on the final lap is the worst thing you can do.
It's irrelevant. I still love that. I'm pretty sure he beat the Wheel of Modified Tour track record around that place doing that.
You know the cool fact? He didn't get a 0x, so lap time counted.
2 laps to go.
Supposed to laugh at my jokes, man. That's what they pay you for.
It's been a long race. Lap and a half to go. Brody Gunter in absolute control of this race. He was looking to beat the record last week for most wins of all time in the ASRL NextGen Cup Series. It was set by Hunter Ungrove. He was held back by Paul Ellison. But now he takes the white flag. Brody Gunter with the 01 machine in complete control of this race as he's going to drive it up into turn numbers 3 and 4 down the Brandt backstretch. He just lapped Jan Van Leer. Brody Gunter with an absolutely wild drive takes his 8th career win in the ASRL NextGen Cup Series, and with it, he becomes the winningest driver in the championship, finally topping Hunter Ungrove.
Good drive. Again, looked dominant all night long. I think one of the biggest things is that we saw quite a few drivers take it to him at different stages of the race, but again, just stands on top of the pile. The supreme long run speed that he has is unmatched.
Tommy Cook might be out of fuel here, dropping like a stone. He's going to lose out to Alex Howland. Tommy Cook is out of fuel and coasting to the line, and that will cost him 4th, and it will cost him a top 5 as well. That's got to hurt. And Brody Gunter, having broken the record, is finally able to call himself the driver with the most wins in the ASRL NextGen Cup Series history. It has been an unreal display from Gunter on this one, and you know for a fact that he is going to be having quite a few more of these wins before that season is out.
Yeah, and I think quite crucially, you know, you said he was looking to take the records last week, past Jan Van Leer's Tide Pods livery to wipe that one clean and wipe down and set some new records on the final lap of this race. So, you know, that's relevant as well. Can't dispute the man's on top of the world at the moment in terms of consistency, overall speed, tire conservation. He's just ticking every box. And you look at the championship, you look at the playoffs coming up, and you just go, can anyone seriously take it to this? I actually think it is going to take something happening to stop him from winning the championship. Nobody is able to take it to him on track. So somebody's got to get in his head, shake him up a little bit, rattle that cage. That could happen. That's the benefit of playoffs. You may hate them, Nolan, but the benefit of playoffs is that it centers your season on a couple of races. You've got to be good. You've got to be switched on at those races. You can run an amazing season and still not take a championship. And for Brody Gunter, I mean, that's an opportunity. That's something that still can happen.
Looking at the official post-race results, Brody Gunter with his 7th win of the season. Right now, 10 for 11 in top 10s, 9 for 11 in top 5s. He takes another one with a dominant win at Chicagoland ahead of Corey Rutherford. Corey Rutherford picking up a very nice 2nd place, 9.2 seconds back. Joshua Hickey, defending champion, picks up 3rd. Grutzmog with his best finish so far in 4th. Howland in 5th. Cook in 6th. Van Leer 7th. Williams was in 8th. He finished this race 1 lap down and 2 down was rookie starter Mark Krenke and Casey Campbell.
Yeah, outside G10, Stephen Carman at 4 laps down, Nate Morris 5 laps down. Be disappointed with dropping out of the server at one point. Joshua Rutherford kept turning laps, as did Travis Fleming. Paul Ellison, after that engine expired, would give up the ghost, and Andy Polizzi was called a 9 very early on.
Not really much of an option there for Polizzi as he got involved in that massive wreck early on. We'll get the chance now to give a chit-chat here to all of the drivers that come home at the end of the night, and we'll look to kick it off first and foremost with the man himself, Brody Gunter. It is a big day for this driver as he comes home with an extremely solid drive. Brody, you're no doubt feeling on top of the world. You've officially taken the record for the most wins in the ASRL NextGen Cup Series with the 7th win of the season in dominating fashion. Talk through this afternoon and how you find yourself with that 7th win.
Yes, so definitely. After my practice times, I did not think it was going to be a good race. I feel like I could not figure out the racetrack. I feel like I had no speed, but in qualifying, maybe it was just the track resetting helped out, and then the race, I feel like I still didn't have, kind of so the Nashville didn't have the best short run speed, but I feel like my long run pace was very, very competitive, and was just able to, I feel like, execute a pretty solid strategy that I was trying to think up on the fly, trying to do math in my head as we're driving. So I feel like it was all in all a really good day. Not my favorite track. I told you I just bought this just last Sunday after Atlanta. So not my favorite track, which I know is pretty rich because the guy just won. But maybe it's probably more fun the Gen 6s, I can imagine. But yeah, these things just hate the bumps in turn 3 and 4.
It's not pleasant at all with the bumps, I would imagine, and we saw a few close calls throughout the course of the afternoon, but that 01 car stayed clean all throughout. Championship-wise, I think this has been about as commanded of a run as you could possibly hope for in a championship. 2 races to go. Do you think you'll be going to put that win counter up to 9 before we get to playoffs?
What's it currently right now? Is that 8?
That'd be in Lagos and Kansas for the last 2.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to Lagos. Obviously, I think it'll be a fun yet terrifying experience. I think it's obviously a very fun road course, one of my favorites. I just know how these next gens are, so it's it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I guess what the goal is to, since we're locked in, and just keep obviously going. See how many more we can get, and then when we get reset, well, I'm sure it's gonna be disastrous for me. I can only imagine. I just have a gut sense that it's gonna be pretty bad when we get reset for the playoffs.
Well, you haven't had any signs of stopping yet, and still a long way to go as well. So who knows? There's only one way to find out. It's by continuing the race, and right now you're showing no signs of slowing down. We'll see you next week in Brazil.
All right, thank you guys.
Brody Gunter comes home with the race win, his 7th on a season, and what could have been his 8th in a row had he not been upset by Paul Ellison last week. That'll bring us on down to Corey Rutherford, the driver that finishes his race in the number 2 spot on a very solid drive. He's standing by with Scott Rankin.
Corey, interesting race out there tonight. A whole bunch of drivers tried the Corey Rutherford strategy, and Corey Rutherford, of course, was sitting there going, hey man, it's the wrong strategy. I'm going to press on.
Yeah, Feel Safe was definitely not in the cards on this one. I was thinking about it early, and it's like, nope, just throttle down the whole time and go.
Man, look, I mean, I know it's unusual for you to be trying the go fast strategy, but hey, it worked out here tonight. Brilliant racetrack. We're talking a lot throughout the duration of the racing tonight about how much fun this track is. Actually, just get out there and be turning laps and racing. The width of it. You have a lot of fun out there tonight.
I did. Chicagoland is probably one of my favorite tracks on the service. There's just something about it that fits my driving style really well, and I enjoy it. So I was happy to be able to get it on the calendar this season, and it paid off.
Man, I'm really, really glad you stuck it on the calendar because you got a big old fan of this racetrack out over here. 2 weeks now to go in the regular season. We're off to Brazil next time out. That is going to be one that challenges quite a number of people. How are you feeling confident heading to the road course?
It's going to be challenging. I've actually never turned a lap at the track. I will be doing so when we're done here tonight. They'll probably be starting getting some practice in, but yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. I've known a couple other stock car / truck series that have ran it, and it's put on good shows. So I'm hoping that it'll put on a good show for you guys next week.
Well, man, pleasure having you here to put on a good show tonight. Who you got to thank?
Well, first thing, got to thank my family, my dad, my mom, my brothers for all their support. Got to thank the league sponsors, Team Watson Racing Setups, and Eminent Signs and Graphics for supporting the league as they do. My paint company, CJR Graphics. If you need a paint, hit me up. Mullet Music Production. Check my brother out on YouTube. And then big thanks to you and Nolan for everything you're doing week in, week out to broadcast the league.
Mate, congratulations on a strong finish here tonight. We'll see you again next week.
Appreciate it. Take care.
And that'll bring us on down to the third place contender here this afternoon. It is, of course, Joshua Higgy, the driver that comes home as a defending champion for season number 1 here this afternoon. And he picks up the final step on the podium here this afternoon. Josh, it was a pretty wild race from start to finish. Not too many cautions, but a lot in the way of strategy. How did that 099 car find itself on the podium after a wild one?
I don't know. I felt like I could have got second. I kind of screwed up a couple pit stops and had to check up for somebody coming in. The cars will ghost sometimes, but just to be safe, sometimes you got to check up like that. But I know I lost a lot of time there. But I don't know, the track felt way different once it went to nighttime compared to the practice. But I double stinted. I don't know. I think I got 2 tires at the end there because we just had 20 lap splash of fuel. But felt like I was running the wrong line all race. Basically, I was just trying to drive around, stay out of trouble. I don't think I had any incidents this race, so that's good. Had a rough couple weeks these past few weeks, so it feels good.
It's been a season with its highs. It's been a season with its lows. So far, Brody Gunter has been in complete control of this championship, but playoff season just around the corner, and you are looking to be in a very, very solid spot to be able to take yourself into the playoff over this one, effectively secured with only 2 races to go. How do you think this is going to shake up once you actually get down to playoff season? Are you going to be able to make the charge of the final 3?
I don't know. He's pretty quick. I don't even know what tracks are in the playoffs yet. I'll probably do a little research tonight. I'm looking forward to next week. That'll be really fun, doing a road course.
Of course, we'll see you then when we go racing once again over in Brazil. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon, Josh, and good job as well on getting that 3rd place finish. We'll see if it'll be another podium at Brazil next week.
Thanks, Nolan.
Joshua Higgy comes home. He takes away the final podium position this afternoon. And, well, Scott, that, again, as always, is just about going to do it this afternoon. Overall, I think this race went about how we expected Chicagoland race to go. There was a lot to be excited about tonight, and as always, it did not disappoint.
Yeah, I mean, we had that untimely caution, drivers getting into each other. There was a little bit of beef there. Beef makes for generically good racing. Some drivers may think, other drivers will think differently of it. But, hey, we went out there, we drove hard, we had a good time. What more can we ask for?
Still a lot more coming up as well on Greenflight TV as well. Don't forget, tomorrow night, the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Designs Premier Series swings on down to the Charlotte Roval for round number 5 of the championship. And there's a lot of road course races this week. You also have the Beer League swinging on out to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. You'll have the VSA Sports Car Championship out at Petit Le Mans for the final race at Road Atlanta. And then, of course, you'll have the ASRL NextGen Cup Series out at Interlagos for one of the last road course races of the season. Sandwiched between them, though, you still got the ASRL and Speed Cup Series races, both running both running playoff races. ASRL going to be eliminated, the bottom 2 in the points for the next round for the round of 8, as they'll be swinging things on out to the Brickyard with the Speed Cup Series out at America's gambling capital from Las Vegas, Nevada for round number 14. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflighttv.com. What a race this has been this afternoon, but the championship situation is only intensifying as things get on further and further. Alex Hallen should be in, and there's a lot more yet to come as well. My name is Will Ramble alongside Scott Ranger. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you when we go racing next week down south in Brazil.